Welcome to Nonprofit Network, powered by Stokes Auction Group. We are a group of fundraising professionals that specialize in raising funds to improve communities of all sizes.
Hello, everybody. I'm starting it today. So we are here, and this is our version of our own little Q&A, or, tips and answers. You can do the first letters of that. Anyway,
Q&A?
Yes, there's a Q. There's questions and answers.
Q&A.
Or tips and
questions
answers.
and answers.
And tips is a very important thing. So,
here, we have written down some burning questions, and
these
we will
are
give
not
you
burning questions,
some
but
flaming answers.
Yes. I am a professional bid spotter. No, you know what? I'm a ringman, because I do
Ring
that.
Woman. Ring
I bark like a dude.
Ring person.
I'm a ring person.
You're a
I'm
ring
not
person.
into that, but I understand it's very important, so
It
I
is.
support bid spotters, professional bid spotter. But anyway, this is a day today where I am going to ask these two professional auctioneers a few questions about galas. And so
we're getting teed up.
you're getting teed up. So
professional is a loose term we
Yeah.
throw
it
around
is.
here.
It is. It's very loose.
So
term,
normally
but
we do a Q&A, a live Q&A every month, and we just got busy and maybe didn't schedule a live Q&A. So now we're doing a pre-prepped Q&A.
yeah, and we're going to kind of talk about it a little bit. It's going to be super casual, not that ours aren't casual
Super
anyway. And we'll kind of discuss whether or not we're going to do Q&As moving forward, or is it actually kind of more beneficial if you guys email us questions and we don't do the whole live thing, because maybe that's kind of ran its course. We don't know yet. And then we'll do it like this.
We're here to make content for you. So wherever it lands is where it's going to land. But we're not going anywhere. We're still going to talk about auctions, fundraising events, and
we like looking in the camera. So there.
We're looking in the camera.
And something always comes up.
Something always comes up.
At every show that we do,
Yep.
something comes up.
Yeah.
You can
Okay,
do all
so
the planning in the
I'm
world.
in
Okay,
charge
she's the moderator.
of this moderation. Is that what it's called?
We're going off the rails on her crazy train.
Yes.
Okay.
We are going to start by kind of just asking
Okay.
some questions.
Okay.
And you guys are going to banter back and forth about it.
All right.
And then I'm going to tell you if you're right or wrong.
That's a lot of pressure. I love the feedback loop here. It's very
And I'll
immediate.
tell you if
We
you're
know
right or wrong.
exactly.
I'll let you know if you're right.
Oh, boy.
Anyway,
Okay.
what?
So question number one.
Question number one. What
Number
at the
one.
galas, and it can be
Okay.
in the silent, it can be during the live, what do you think your favorite game is that you see played that also creates quality revenue for the organization?
Herbury.
You're perfect. Very good question.
I like the one where you have the wine wall, right? And you spin the wheel. $20, spin the wheel, wherever, because it takes very little talent, right? Obviously. So basically, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
$25, and you get, I don't know, 2 or 3 spins, and there's a winner on every slot of that wheel. I always thought that was cool.
Do you find
really
that
because it really does not take, like, you don't have to be able to throw an arrow,
Sure.
or you don't have to roll a ball, or you
it's
don't
just
have
chance, chance of the
it's-
wheel?
Yeah, it's easy, so everybody can do it.
Do you find that that's a big revenue generator?
Yes, especially if it's wine.
Yeah.
You got 40 bottles of wine. There's a couple of gigs that I do that they are gone before the first silent section is even closed.
Yeah, and the great thing about wine is that people will often not have an issue overpaying for it, I've noticed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even though it's retail $20, people will not even think about it and pay twice that easily.
Right.
Yeah.
And the mystery part of it too, you have each of the wine bottles wrapped up so you can't see
Sure.
what they are.
Yeah.
There's $100 or $200 bottles of wine in here.
Yeah. And they advertise that at these
Yeah.
games? Do they say, there could be, you could win this?
Hypothetically, sometimes that will happen on occasion.
On occasion.
Check your local liquor laws, because there is
Ooh, yes.
there is some issues
Okay.
in some territories about actually saying, when you mix like a raffle and alcohol, there's something that has to do with the valuation on those higher dollar bottles that can get you into sticky wickets with some liquor control boards.
That's really
So
good.
just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, I mean, to your point, yes. I think that one of my favorite games or activities.
Can I interrupt you just real quick? And I know, but I'm the moderator. Don't forget. So do they find that? Do they just Google that? If they're, let's say they're having a party in
Yep.
Bend or
Yep.
whatever, they just Google what are the restrictions.
Yeah, so there's
Okay.
a lot of materials that are put out by a lot of organizations, all government based, and they will basically run through the guidelines. You really have to get granular on what you're trying to accomplish. So just kind of keep those laws in mind.
Okay,
because
sorry,
it can
didn't mean to
get
do that.
it can get a little convoluted.
Okay.
Most states have a liquor control board.
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct.
Google that.
Yeah.
Google that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
In terms of my favorite game, I would say that my favorite is what we call a buy it now board. So essentially what you can do is you can tie a certain dollar amount to something that will support the organization. More often we see these at a humane society or something of that nature, and it'll be, hey, for $20 you can sponsor syringes for the for the clinic, or whatever the case may be. And the thing that I like about that is you are essentially like creating money out of nothing. And when you provide a limited quantity on how many opportunities there are, people will often get a little not hysteric, but urgency is built through limited quantity, right? So if you have a wall and it's $5,000 spread out across a whole bunch of envelopes, you can really see all of those sell out, and then your fundraiser is able to speak to, hey, limited quality, and when it's done, it's done. And also it allows people to really quantify their gift, right? If I give $50, I'll be able to provide painkillers for whatever, right? So with that ability to kind of tie a dollar amount to an actual happening is a very powerful strategy in fundraising.
Awesome. That's
That
great.
is a very effective way to raise money for specific needs of the Humane Society or of the shelter,
Right.
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be.
And you can address those specific needs in that game.
Yeah,
And bring light to them for during your live as well as your fund a need.
Yeah, and the other thing I like about it is it's cost zero for the organization, right? It's literally like putting little pictures on the wall and saying this can do this, right? So really all it is effort and printed materials and writing stuff on the board. Therefore, you don't have to have a ton of wine. But as we said, wine's going to be lucrative if you bring it in and leverage it on a game. But ultimately, it's really cost efficient to raise money.
Gotcha. So coming out of the pandemic, do you guys feel like it is that we've kind of entered into more of an educational, because that's an educational game, right? Where people are not necessarily just asking their guests for money. They're educating them more about why they need the money and what the specific monies go towards. Are you seeing that out there, that there's more of that than before? Is it the same? Is it less? And do you feel it has a place throughout the evening, that education piece? God, these are great questions.
That was a good question.
That was like 4 questions.
Yeah.
And it's not even written on my list.
I
This
know,
is
you didn't
just
write that one
the
down.
brain.
See, I told you she's going to throw us a
Well,
curveball.
there's multiple barrels on the field right now. Your question basically gets to the core issue of, do we need to be integrating the mission into the fundraising event post-pandemic? And I think the answer is yes, especially after the pandemic. I think what happened pre-pandemic is we all took for granted everybody knew why they were in a room.
Right.
And I think what we're experiencing now is like people are coming back and they're not really sure why we're there. Well, my mom used to go to this event years ago and now I'm invited, right? So I think that constant reminder and tying things back to the mission is more essential than it's ever been. I also think that my philosophy in fundraising has kind of like molded and shaped a little bit in the last couple of years. And I think that a nonprofit, their goal is to spread awareness of the organization. For a long time, I'd go to these fundraising events, and the goal was to get people to give money. And I think anymore, my goal has shifted and become, we need to let people know that there is a need for this money.
Yes.
Your goal is to convey that there is a need here, not necessarily pressure people into giving. Because if people don't have the wherewithal or financial backing to give at that time, what you need to do is set up awareness or set up a champion for your organization through this gala.
So they feel the need in the room. They have to feel it.
They have to feel the need and they have to know what they're funding. And I think for a while there we got so caught up in look at my gown and the food is so good. But at the end of the day, we have to be sharing the mission with people that know the mission and people that don't know the mission.
Gotcha. What do you think,
I don't
Paul?
think you could ever have too much information about your charity night of.
Mm-hmm.
I think that information is just absolutely invaluable. Because as new people do come into the room, and you hope to get, 20% new blood, we call it, in the room every year, that education needs to go to them too. That knowledge needs to go to them. They need to know why they're there and where specifically their money is going for.
Mm-hmm.
To answer your question specifically, have I seen it increase or decrease or stay the same? I would say, in my experience, it's pretty much stayed the same.
Yeah.
How it's always been an effective part of the fundraising world. As far as my shows, my events that I do, we're with written material, with pictures, with video, constantly going on.
Mm-hmm.
Teachers wandering around talking to their kids' parents, night of. Everybody's kind of, in a social setting, but just learning what your kids are learning. And that example is just about teachers and young kids, because that's the one I just did. Plus the social aspect of it feels more like a community.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But keeping the education out there and
Mhm.
keeping the need out there, especially for animals or serious diseases, events that we do, you can never have too much information, I think.
Yeah, I think this is a tough question to answer, and I'm going to answer the way I answer a lot of my questions with, I need more information. But I think ultimately, if you consider like raising money for a school, like you were in two different shows, we were both raising money for schools this weekend, or raising money for a medical research foundation like you were this weekend, the lift is a lot different.
Mhm.
Because if you're a parent, you already know what the good is. You already know that you're providing the ability for faculty to continue to be on staff. You're providing scholarships. You already know what the day-to-day investment is in a school scenario. In a corporate scenario or a corporate fundraiser, much like you were at, you are now tasked with taking like a random bank teller who knows a big muckety muck. You have to convert them into a gift, and it's a much harder ask because there's not the inherent knowledge that some organizations have. So when your question of do you have to communicate the mission, I think it's even more so the case when you're dealing with people that don't already know what's going on with the mission.
Yeah. So you're trying to marry basically the way we used to do it a little bit with today and bringing in a younger group as well. You're also trying to bring, to be honest, your generation, we've been doing it, right?
Our generation's the greatest. We've already done it all.
No. But what we haven't done that great of a job at necessarily is, and I believe it's happening today, I've seen it post-pandemic more than before, is those kids of those givers, like you, would be, they are giving more before, but I don't know if that's because they're being educated by the parent or the grandparent that was there before, or if they are actually, because your generation is very good about seeking the knowledge that they need to make an informed decision on their give. They do. They get educated about it, and they are drinking up that education. So, you have to be mindful of those things that come to play with that, which leads me into my next question of also trying to bring people across board generations together for one thing. How do you feel about sound bumps, and are they important? Because 10 years ago a sound bump really wasn't a big deal. 15 years ago, because the crowd already knew what they were there for. But now we're trying to engage people, so you got to come out with the big loud noise, boom, and then your MC starts to read the items. Do you think sound bumps are effective, or do you think they're just kind of like fluff?
Yes, I think they're very effective. I would be on the side of not every item.
Okay. Why?
Not sure what your thoughts are, but I'm sure I'm going to hear when I'm done. But
Sure. Do you want my answer now or
not
later? What do you
every
want?
item.
Yeah.
I think strategically placing them with items are going to do good. A sailing trip, easy one.
Sure.
Always item number one, no matter what item number one is. Always have a sound bump on item number one, loud.
Boom,
Yeah,
and then
you
down.
come out loud.
Yeah.
And so by sound bump, you are essentially speaking to when the intro of the item comes, a new song comes and plays over, correct?
15-20 second clip
Yeah.
of the song, then it goes real low
not even
or
that long.
gone. Yeah, 5-10.
Maybe 5 or 10 seconds.
I mean, this is a difficult question to ask because, like, in the fundraising market, there's people that really lean on music and like tying it into their performance, and there's people that don't do it as much.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that we normally put out into the fundraising community do not lean on it as much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different styles and different opinions. I think that it's beneficial because anytime that you're changing or keeping it new and fresh and engaging, the better off you are.
Right. An attention grabber. It grabs their attention too.
Yeah.
We're back here, item number 2.
Yeah. And like I definitely could have used it this weekend because I was in a situation where I was asked, and I had a great weekend. Don't misunderstand this next story, but essentially I was asked to come up, get on stage, and then from there I sold 5 items. I emceed the entire live auction. I did the pitch into the fund a need, and then I called all levels and thanked the names. So it was a good 45 minutes to an hour of just me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I could have used a sound bump in the worst
Absolutely.
way. Yeah.
For multiple reasons. To break your voice up, too.
To break my voice up, to keep people engaged, to
Mm-hmm.
switch it up, because you hit a point, and you know, I did my best to keep people engaged, and I felt like I succeeded there, but a sound bump would have helped immensely,
Okay.
right? It really would have. You know, in hindsight, we probably had the wherewithal and enough people on staff to execute something like that, but it is one more thing to do,
Sure.
right? And I think that's really where the sound bump is missed. Like, it's easy to sit in a boardroom and say, yeah, we really should do that. And then the moment comes and you're worried about people finding enough parking or, you know, something that's not even on your radar prior to. So I think it's hugely beneficial. I also find that it's normally an extra ad, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think you should do it every item
Okay.
you know?
because I think it gets old, especially if you've got 20 items.
That's a good point.
If you got 20 items, do it every 3 to 5 maybe.
Yeah.
20 and more items.
And
If you got 5 or 6 items,
that's a great point, actually. Now that you've kind of elaborated on that, I think
because
it's a
it
good
would
idea.
get old, I think. People would be like,
Get old, and I think like something that comes to mind for me is like not all songs are created equal.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, how many wine packages have we sold where it's like red wine?
Yeah.
I mean, we've been listening to that song for 40 years. You know what I mean? Like,
Neil Diamond.
like however long
I mean,
it's
it's
been.
a great song, but
It is a great song, but we've heard it so many times, and people that have been at fundraisers have heard it so many times that it's lost its je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
But to your point, you know, if you had red wine, like 1 out of 5 items, then it has a lot more punch because you don't see it coming. And I think that's a huge benefit to your
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah. I think another important thing about sound bumps is how they are introduced and delivered. I can't tell you how many times the Emcee wasn't part of the pre-auction meeting
right.
and they don't know the cue.
Right.
The sound guy does not know the cue. Folks, you get this nailed down. Tell the sound guy, don't play the sound bump until I
Hear
say
the title.
item number and title. Item number 3, scuba diving with Shelby.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, music starts. So often they step on each other. The MC doesn't know, doesn't get the feel, doesn't get into it, right? Doesn't see the significance of the sound bump, and they stumble over each other. And then it's like, oh my God. Then it's really awkward, and you're like, let's just stop doing this, right?
So
That
that's
is so critical to
yeah.
get that in pre-production meetings nailed down, solid, to make it effective.
So that kind of launches me into my next question, Paul, about MCs and what are some of the characteristics or traits, I guess maybe. And we don't have a choice at who the MC is, right? Unless
Sometimes,
it's our
yeah,
right,
unless
it's us
our teammate, yeah.
providing an MC, which we have great MCs, by the way.
I mean,
But what are those traits that really you think a person should look for when they are outside of our group hiring an MC?
I mean, I even think that some of our MCs could do better at this trait that I'm about to mention, and it's self-awareness. Like, that is the number one with a bullet top priority. Self-awareness. Because essentially when an MC comes in, and if the show is about the MC and that MC's ego, they're no longer focusing on the best for the event. They're now focused on lifting themselves up or hearing themselves talk. We've been in situations where we've had personalities come in and basically monopolize all the time in the room, and it's not what's best for the show.
Right.
And I think that to be self-aware, you have to know what you bring to the table, but you also can't be operating on insecurities. In other words, like, I have to talk more because otherwise, why would I be here? Like, there's times, and Bobby Arkiel, shout out to you. I know you can probably speak
He's
to him,
amazing.
but he's so good, and
He's
the
so
reason
good.
is because he can read a room. And he's aware when he's talking too much or when he can just kind of say the 2 bullet points and move on. And it's all based on what's best for that organization at that time. I can't get up here and say, hey, elaborate on every item, bring personality and color to each item, or say less, because that opportunity and what's best for that audience changes every item. So you really have to be able to gauge the audience, see if they're engaged, and react accordingly.
Yeah, and I think at Emcee, it's they are either going to push the night or slow the night down, depending on what's going on, right? So they have to be kind of a bit of a controller of the evening, even though the auctioneer is the lead, right? An auctioneer still needs controlling sometimes because he is so busy trying to get that money and engage with his audience that if he's got a strong MC, they can help push that through as opposed to having the auctioneer worry about the MC, right? I think the MC is the catcher of a baseball game. They're kind of calling the shots a little bit up there. Now the auctioneer's the pitcher. He's the one throwing it down the pipe, right? But that MC is the one saying, no, we're going to do da-da-da, keep it going, you know, da-da, and learn that. So when they're looking to hire, you know, an MC outside of our group, trust us as far as when we place an MC, it's going to be a good one. But, yeah.
I look very strongly at their ability to, I don't know how else to describe this, but a situation that happened to me this last weekend was we had the father come up on the stage with us for a couple of items. And Bobby's ability to engage, hey, father, and do like an interview. Like, to be able to do that off the cuff, he's a master.
Yeah.
And he set that stage up and then handed it to me, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times we're tasked with that. Getting the father up there and, hey, you know, tell me a story, or, you know, how much beer are you going to bring, and all whatever.
Right.
Bobby is much better at that than I am. And he totally set it up perfectly.
Well, an MC is master of ceremonies. You know, they are the ones driving that car at the time. And we're a piece of that, but typically an MC has worked before us and after us, right? So they're the driver of the night. That kind of also creeps me, which is very good on this interview process thing. I'm loving it. Got one more question. I think we have time?
Yeah, I think one more would probably be appropriate.
Yeah, one more. In a room of 400 people, and I'm just using that number, in a room of 400 people that is a school setting. So we're doing school tuition, we're doing kids projects, things like that. What is the ultimate number of live items that brings the ultimate profit to the organization?
Such an unfair question.
It is such an
That is
unfair
such
question.
an unfair
But
question.
I will
20.
tell all of you, out
Done.
there, they both
That's the
have
end
a
of the
number.
episode, folks. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, they both have a number that came into their head right away. So, not saying you won't do more or less, but through your vision and the amount of auctions the two of you have done.
Can I answer a question? But I need more information.
No.
Like that's the answer here, because
Chicken.
no. So I did an event this last weekend where I had 5 items and a call to action, starting at $50K, going down to $100. That room could not have taken 10 items, and the reason is as soon as
Was it 400 people?
Yeah.
Okay.
300.
Okay.
It was a big tent. Maybe 400.
It was big.
It was a big tent. But I think my point is, and the reason I answered the way I did is because we had a band there. And this group is here to party, right? So it's like, get in, call your numbers, get out,
Gotcha.
right? So, I mean, all they want to do is they just want to dance and party. And they were the libations were flowing, right? So people just wanted to socialize, drink, and dance, and like I can't dock them for that.
No.
So I mean, in that room, could we have gone 10 items? Probably. About 7 or 8, I would have been running out of steam. And I don't want to steal your answer. I'll let you speak next. But in your room, the entertainment was different. The entertainment was not the band. The entertainment was you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see your point.
You see what I'm saying?
You're right. Bobby and I and Kelly and Adam. It was our show.
Right.
2 hours of
Mhm.
the Stokes Auction Group show.
And
Right.
they enjoyed watching that.
Right. Making jokes.
Yeah.
Watching, the father come up and speak. You had all the entertainment pieces in your show, but it allows you to have more items, is how I would answer that.
Yeah, and items and events like that, Catholic schools, we talk about them a lot. They have historically had a lot of items.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a time when there were 50 or 60.
Oh, yes.
And that has slowly morphed into now 20 and 30. But
now we're selling Aunt Sally's loaf of bread.
yeah, they had this event has
$25.
a good problem. They have so many gracious donors, and they have too many items. They have to choose.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have to create that almost live, and hopefully the donors are satisfied with that. Hey, we can't get you into the live, but we can put you in the almost live. That is a good problem to have.
Sure.
But I think that if you think mathematically, 300 people, they're going to come as couples, so there's 150, right? 30% of those are going to be players,
Yeah.
typically. Do those numbers. You can't expect everybody, and you have to add the silent items into this equation as well. You can't expect all 300 people to buy one thing.
Right. Now, Pepper doesn't completely agree with Paulie's,
That's
idea.
the dog barking in the
But
background.
that's just a dog,
Yeah.
and she doesn't really understand the mechanics of it all. So
For sure. She was.
I think I heard her say five items.
she said 5. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Five
no, that
items.
is 5. You're right.
Yeah.
Five
So
items.
I mean, to completely dodge your question, I'd say run the numbers on timeline. Like the true answer is 3 to 4.5 minutes an item. Run the math. What do you want to accomplish? People at a party, you're gonna have to do less items to get in before the band does.
Right.
You're gonna have it be the whole show. You can sell for 2 hours based on that math and do. You said 20. What you said? How many items?
We had 32.
Yeah.
32 items.
Strong.
Stronger. That's stronger than most right now. I would say that, and just to kind of I don't even know the word, but to kind of bring it back to reality, average number of items right now is anywhere from 10 to 17. Does that feel about right? About 10 to 17 is where we're landing right now.
Yep.
Attention spans are shorter. Procurement's kind of down across the board
It
for a
is.
lot of these organizations because there's not enough or not as many items as there were. Thus, we have less items in the live auction. So I think I answered your question. I'd
You
say
did, kind
3
of,
to
in a
4.5
way, but it was
meetings,
good.
and then
I mean, it's good stuff, to be honest with you.
10 to
All these
17.
questions are questions that people that are putting a show together are thinking about. They're thinking about the MC. They're thinking about the amount of items. They're thinking about what does the auctioneer do? What about game? What does and they want their auctioneers to enjoy these games.
Mhm.
They want your guys' input because you do so many of them that you see a good amount of difference out there. So,
Yeah.
that's I think these questions will help answer some of that stuff for anybody that has that question.
Well, and I think that's why our business is so consultant or conversation heavy. You know what I mean? There's so many, but what about, how
Mhm.
about this?
Yeah.
It's so hard to paint in black and white. And if it was easily painted in black and white, we probably wouldn't be consulting to the scale that we are.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, thank you for you guys taking the
Thank
time.
you
I
fun.
love
for
this.
moderating.
Yeah, we might do another one of these or two. I like
Sure
this
we will.
change up.
Yeah,
So
for
I
sure.
appreciate that time.
Yeah, and we appreciate you guys watching at home. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're obviously on a video version. If you're on the podcatcher, definitely give us a review if you'd be so kind. We do a video version on YouTube. Check us out there. Also, Kelly's been slaying it on the Facebook.
Yes, and the Facebook and the
Facebook.
Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to do a little bit of sharing. I'm struggling with that a little bit, but we'll get that handled. It'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
Yeah, but we appreciate you hanging out with us this week and every week. We hope you have a great day. It is May. The fundraising season is about 6 weeks until summertime. So enjoy the
Yeah.
ride, strap in, and enjoy yourselves.
Yeah. Be good to yourself and the people around you. Thanks for joining us today.
Don't be afraid to ask questions like I did today. Go out there, be courageous, ask questions, and always remember, you got this.
And always be intimidated by the answers that you get from those questions.
See
It's been a good day. Go do good. We appreciate you. Till next time. Bye, y'all.
Thanks.
you, Gary.